Season 2 hasn't got off to quite the flying start that I was hoping for, but I've been looking around and I've come up with some ideas how to make the W15 much faster. Hello everyone, welcome back to AHGP. My name's Aaron and I am managing Mercedes. Hope you're all doing well. I am about to do something to hopefully radically change our fortunes, because in the first 3 races we've done okay, but we can do a lot better at Mercedes. We're 4th in the championship as it stands, a point behind Ferrari, 5 points behind Aston Martin. We outscored both of them in the last race in Jeddah, but I'm not satisfied with that. 4th and 5th is not what we're here for. We're here to win races, and so far we have won a race, but we don't look like catching Red Bull, who are just far and away just ridiculously OP in this game. So we need to do something about it. Now, I have been looking around on YouTube for some tips and guides on car development and executing that efficiently. And I found a channel run by a person called Nerobax, and their guide has inspired some of what I'm about to show you. I'll leave a link to their channel in the description with the video that I have been inspired by. So what I'm going to do to start with is an underfloor. Basically, I'm not going to touch the CFD and wind tunnel hours. I'm just going to basically build a specialised part. So take away all the weight, and then I'm going to massively boost the airflow sensitivity. So we get a big boost in that. I might even bring these down. Maybe leave drag reduction there. So basically what we're doing is building specialised parts that we get these massive stat gains on. You can see there that we get a huge amount of benefit, but maybe leaving these balanced in the middle so we get some gains sort of across the board. We're splitting the gains. You can see we get boosts in terms of our car rank on the grid. Car 2 gets a huge amount of boosts there. Extra weight plus 11, so we then become the lightest on the grid for that part. So if we do that across the board, then we'll be able to hopefully deliver better results. So we can go intense, and this will be ready in May, sort of around or just after the Miami Grand Prix. We've got a couple of other pieces that I started development on before I found these tips and guides to come onto the car. So we'll have some upgrades for the next race in Japan and Miami, but we need to build these specialist parts. I'm wondering if we just do why is intense May and then rushed April? Why is that? That doesn't make any sense. So we'll just do rushed, and that will be April. And okay, cool. We do have an opportunity as well with another engineer to do something. And what we could do as well is the chassis. So maybe use the remainder of the wind tunnel hours here, so we get even more stat gains. And what we'll do, if we do airflow middle, we lose a load on cooling, but look at the gains we get here when we take away the weight. We get some of that top speed back. If we boost a bit on the drag reduction, there you go. The engine will get hotter, so that's not great, but we can just do that and everything gets massively boosted. So we become the lightest chassis on the grid. We become better at engine cooling. We become the 3rd best car at high speed. Yeah, I mean, it makes a lot of difference. So I'm going to go ahead and do that with one engineer. That'll be ready. If we rush it, it'll be 20 days. So that'll probably be ready for around the Miami Grand Prix. Alright, comfortably into Q3, but Williams are absolutely cooking in this qualifying session. At one point Logan Sargent was 3rd. You'll be able to see the order once we go into Q3, which we'll do right now. We've had some upgrades go onto the car, as mentioned earlier in the episode, and they have been doing okay. As you can see, Albon 4th in Q2, Sargent ahead of both my drivers. Stroll up there as well. Alonso knocked out in Q2. Sainz in a very unsmooth operation, but classic Ferrari knocked out in Q1. So just make sure we've got 2 sets of tyres to use. Actually, I'm wondering if we use a used set, because they seem to do all right for everybody else. Let's give those a go for the first run, and then it might be the golden ticket. Just worth a try, isn't it, I suppose? Let's see what happens. Hamilton sets a personal or purple sector, as does Russell. Hamilton a 27 flat, which is quicker than what we did in Q2, and Russell just off him by half a tenth, but I think we'll see others go quicker. So this means we can keep a set of fresh softs for the race, which might be helpful because it's set to rain a lot. So it could be a mad dash at some point for slicks, and if you've got softs you can get a bit of an undercut there. So final runs upcoming in Q3. We'll send Hamilton out now. He's actually out behind Verstappen, and Russell is out behind Perez, so that might be great in terms of a slipstream out of Spoon, or it could really hurt us through the corners. And is that Stroll on a flying lap? It is, having his lap absolutely ruined by us two on their final attempts. It looks like Russell's a bit closer to Perez than Hamilton is to Verstappen. Stroll is going to absolutely get in the way here, isn't he? Where are we going to catch him? Hamilton sets a personal best, but that's Stroll in the way. What are you doing, man? He's going to get in the way of Russell as well, who's not improved first sector. Leclerc has not gone quicker. So Verstappen, unless Hamilton usurps him, is set for pole position. Middle sector, Hamilton a personal best. Verstappen not actually improving. Russell improving in the middle sector. Verstappen sets the fastest final sector of anybody. Perez takes pole. He snatched off his teammate, and Russell has beaten Hamilton. So 4th and 5th. Hamilton set 3 greens, but it just wasn't enough in the end. And even Verstappen with a purple final sector didn't get the job done. Sergio Perez snatches pole position. That was dramatic, but we're very close actually. Top 5 covered by just over 0.2 of a second. All right, the strategy has been set, and as you can see, 2 sets of intermediates. And well, I'm not going crazy. There's rain on the way, so we'll probably have to pit a bit earlier than where these lines are set. I mean, especially for the first set, because the rain is set to come around lap, is that 17? So we'll see what happens there. But as I said in qualifying, we're going to get some rain. It's going to get quite heavy towards the end of the race. Might have to switch to wets to keep an eye on what the AI does. But under fuel is the way to go, and be light at the start, and we'll recover the fuel later on in the wet conditions. So this fresh set of softs could be really, really helpful. I'm not sure what the AI are going to do in terms of tyres. Hopefully they all do something silly and start on hards, and we can clear off. But from 4th and 5th on the grid, we've got a tremendous shot at a podium if we play our cards right. So let's get stuck into this race around Suzuka. Well, Sergio Perez remembered how to motor race yesterday. Can he do the same today? 5 red lights in Japan. The race is on. Let's see what we can do. Look at Russell immediately pulling out to try and find a way through. Perez covering the line into turn 1. And our 2 drivers are very, very close together there, as Leclerc is still hustling Verstappen. What's the tyre situation? Perez is on mediums. Leclerc's on used softs, Verstappen new softs. This could get a bit wild, I think, especially with Perez on mediums. Whenever that rain is supposed to come, they're still side by side, Leclerc and Verstappen. And hopefully we're going to just hang out with this lot. Verstappen holds on to second place and immediately sets after his teammate. No change in the top 5 as yet. But let's see. I think we're still blasting the battery. And here we go. We're up the inside. There's a change. George Russell, the Russell Shuffle, into 3rd position. We could probably go balanced on fuel now. It will be light enough. Right, can we get after the Red Bulls? Let's have a look at this overtake into the hairpin. Kobayashi corner. Of course, he made that famous in 2012 when he went on to score a podium. Verstappen hasn't got past Perez just yet. Well, Verstappen has now got ahead of Perez, so maybe we can close that gap to the 2nd Red Bull and challenge for 2nd position. But just while we're looking after our battery, we're going to drop back a bit. I think we'll even, well, if we take the high risk curbs avoidance off, we'll up our pace. I think we'll be able to close the gap. So Hamilton, we need to get you past Leclerc, but that's easier said than done because Leclerc has got DRS. But all the while we're just pulling away from Magnussen, who's gapping Sargent. That's useful. Russell into the DRS range of the Red Bulls, but didn't actually get DRS there. Perez is putting up a fight here, more than he does in real life. He just gets doormat treatment from Verstappen. And Russell definitely on the case of the Red Bulls, and Hamilton will now have a chance to pass Leclerc with DRS. We weren't driving clean air the whole time, it just cost lap time. Let's do this sensibly. We'll deploy down the pit straight. We're driving clean air now. Right, Hamilton. DRS, will we go past? There we go. Does the day end in Y? Of course it does. Hamilton passes Leclerc. Mercedes up to 3rd and 4th now. And look, Russell right on the Red Bulls. And Hamilton hopefully will be able to join him. Lovely stuff. Hamilton through past Leclerc. Tyre-wise, I think Leclerc is starting to struggle. We do need to manage our tyre temperatures because the rain is probably about 7 or 8 minutes away. Deploy here, and we drive in clean air. I think we're going to go past at least one Red Bull here. Here comes George Russell passing Sergio Perez, and he goes into 2nd position, which is where he finished this race last year, of course.
That was a nice move.
That was indeed a nice move, George. I'm a big fan of that. I'm such a big fan of it. We'll watch it again. Look at that. Beautiful. Lovely. Excellent. All the adjectives. What's the tyre sitch like? There we go. 3% more worn for Verstappen. Battery is drained. But we'll have DRS with both cars, so hopefully. And that's Hamilton passing Perez. He's still got driving clean air on. I didn't even realise he was going to be going for it. But there he goes. Through goes Hamilton. And both Mercedes are now on the podium. Red Bull, what have you done? You've absolutely shafted Perez. It's like you don't even want to run a second car. Obviously, having 4 cars all together, not helpful when everyone dashes for the pit lane. And not particularly useful when both our drivers are so close together. Hamilton doesn't have DRS at the moment, so I'm wondering if Perez will come back past. He's defending. Here comes Perez looking for that way through. He doesn't find it. In fact, let's go back to neutral on the deployment with both drivers. Russell is actually nibbling away at the gearbox of Verstappen here. And I think we might be in a position to take the lead of the Japanese Grand Prix. We're leaving Leclerc behind. He's thinking, what are my tyres doing? And actually having a bit of a gap is useful, because if we have to double stack, hopefully we don't have a pit stop issue which ruins the race. But we are also far enough ahead now that we could probably get out ahead of everybody else. Going to harvest actually for a moment with Russell and with Hamilton, just to give us a bit more energy to play with. So let's see how that works out for us. As long as Russell stays in the DRS zone, which he at the moment is not, but that's fine as long as we've got the energy to use once we get there. I think Verstappen's actually deploying a load of energy now. Watch this be, yes, 31.8, 7/10 of a second. We do need to consider our fuel, but we can deal with that later. We'll just deal with that later. So just in terms of the upgrades, which I mentioned earlier, I think Hamilton, I put the new side pods on, and I think they've both got a new front wing, and Russell has got a new suspension that Hamilton doesn't have. So we hopefully will be able to close on Verstappen here with some DRS, and then hopefully maybe undercut him at the stop for inters.
Sorry, guys.
Something has happened to Lewis Hamilton, and he's kind of muddied his race. He's locked up and gone off the track. I think he's recovered to stay in fourth, but that's obviously not ideal. That's definitely was not ideal because he's run wide. Is he?
Yeah, don't sweat it, Lewis.
Okay, he's just still complaining, but rain is on the way, so if we can just get into the rain period, then
It's not going to be long now, mate.
it's okay. There's nothing really terrible about it. It's just the tyres are ruined. In fact, what we'll do while we've got him here is just conserve some fuel. The pace that we've shown early on, he's been able to make a mistake and rejoin ahead of Leclerc, who is really struggling. Well, I say really struggling. He's got slightly better tyres than Hamilton now. Russell is still chasing Verstappen. We do need to harvest some energy, actually. We're about a minute away from rain, and the clouds are darkening. The mist is coming in. As soon as we get rainfall, I'm probably going to just bring Hamilton in. And here we go. So let's see, how quickly does it start to fall? It's much too early now. Just go light with Hamilton. In fact, it'd be too slow at the moment. So Perez is boxed for the inters. So we're going to bring Hamilton in. Must be inters that he's putting on, surely. Yeah, you can see the green stripe around the outside of them. He drops 2 seconds behind Verstappen because we've been harvesting, but we will now also be deploying. Right, pit stop time. Need slick stop. Everybody's in. There goes Verstappen. Where's Hamilton? He's coming in. He's just ahead of Stroll. Also, we have to look after the tyres. He's run over the Ferrari mechanics. Don't sweat it, Lewis. There we go. He's skittled some Alpine mechanics too. Right, let's get Russell after Verstappen. Get the oops, whoopsie. Press the wrong button on the keyboard there. So we rejoin in second and fourth. That's fine. Deploy there with Hamilton. Now just get the tyres up to temperature. So we've got grip. Track now damp, so DRS is disabled. That time Russell versus Verstappen. Verstappen a little bit quicker, but we're in range. Let's put it that way. We are in range. we've fallen back from Verstappen a bit because we needed to cool the tyres. So what I've done is avoid high-risk curbs on. Although I think that's just going to keep them cooling actually. So we'll just have to flip between aggressive and standard. I'm topping up the battery with Lewis, who is what's the interval? He's just under 3 seconds behind Perez. So we're within range of both Red Bulls. Chance of winning this race, but I mean we are up against Red Bull, so there's probably only about a 3 or 4% chance of winning it. We do need them to misstep a little bit. There's a yellow flag. There's Lando Norris locking up at the same corner that Lewis Hamilton went off at earlier, turn 11. And as always in the wet, it just kind of stagnates really. So we'll just keep an eye on things, I suppose, and I will come back to you with the edit if and when something happens. Alright, the rain has started to really come down now, and the level of water on the track has just shot up from about 1.2 millimetres to approaching now 3.5 millimetres. We've got drivers coming in for the full wets. We need to prepare ourselves for another pit stop. That was the Haas of Magnussen coming out of the pit lane. Perez has been slow. Everyone's in. Everyone's pitted. Do we take the risk? I mean, we might be able to make it through on 2 sets of inters. Let's see what Verstappen does. Let's call George in. We'll confirm it.
Box.
What is Verstappen going to do? Because we can just hit the pause button and cancel this pit stop. Where's he going? To the pit lane. So now what do? Do we stay out and have track position and be potentially faster on the inters, or do we follow him in? I am going to follow him in with Russell, and Hamilton I'm going to leave. We're going to bring Hamilton in as well. I'm not going to risk it. Not going to risk it. Track now wet. Wet tyres will be better. Leclerc's in as well. 2.5 second pit stop for Russell. That's fine. Pit stops are getting quicker. I've done some work on the schedule for them and their training. So pit stops will be better. Hopefully less mistakes and more speed. Okay, lap 43. Nothing has happened. We're dropping back because we need to save fuel. Tyres aren't overheating, although we are using them a bit more than the Red Bull and even the Ferrari. But we are quicker than the Ferrari. Russell is quicker than Perez last time around. Gap just under 10 seconds. Hamilton has a kilo less to save than Russell, who's still second. Hamilton fourth. This is a great performance from us, but I don't think we're going to be able to halt this winning run that Verstappen's on unless he does something silly like throw it in the wall. And what's that? That is Lando. That's a wild Lando Norris. Is he going to upset the Dutchman here? Is he holding him up? Might be some traffic for him to negotiate, and he gets past. So track looked like it was drying up, but the rain has returned. I don't see it drying up before the end of the race. So we're just going to see this through, I think. And tyres are just getting a bit warm there. Hamilton, did he catch? He's actually slower than Perez, even though he's pushing with the fuel. So there's not really much to show you because they're just going round all on their own, the top four, and they're in lap traffic. So unless Verstappen does a silly, and crashes, he's going to win this race. The track is only just starting to dry out to a point where you could consider inters. Sadly, a bit of an anticlimactic race this, because the first half of it was really exciting, and this was my fear that once it was wet, there's nothing really happening. Not actually a yellow flag. Alonso with a lockup. Where is he? 10th. Aston Martin 6th with Stroll. Sainz, who was knocked out in Q1, has not recovered to the points. So it's going to be a really good day for Mercedes in terms of the Constructors' Championship. We're going to leap ahead of both Ferrari and Aston Martin as there's another yellow flag. Lando Norris running wide. And to do just that, as Verstappen wins the race, we're going to claim our first podium of the year. Our first podium last year came with some wet conditions, and it was with Lewis Hamilton, but this time it's George Russell who takes second place in Suzuka.
So that's P2.
An excellent performance from the team. Well done indeed to everyone at the factory. Track is now damp, and Hamilton comes home 4th behind Perez. So we gave Red Bull a run for their money, at least in the early phase of the race. In the wet, we didn't do enough really to catch them, but once we had track position, it was fine. Leclerc never had the pace to catch us. So a job well done in Suzuka. So Max Verstappen wins again, but our big story is, of course, our first podium of the year. George Russell extends his personal lead over Lewis Hamilton in the driver's standing. Remember, Hamilton had a bit of a lull last season, and Russell went on a bit of a spree of podiums sort of towards the back end of the season before Hamilton got that victory in Mexico. So might be something similar at play here. We finished 12.9 seconds off Verstappen. So drivers wise, Russell is now just 2 points behind Leclerc. Hamilton is level with Alonso, but Alonso has a podium, so that keeps him ahead of Hamilton for now. Constructors wise, we move to second. 30 points scored against Aston's 9 and Ferrari's 10. So that's a really good step in the right direction. We are already 101 points behind Red Bull, so if we want to catch them, we need to do a lot in terms of development, and then we can crack on in terms of trying to get race wins and catching them. So I suppose our target needs to be finishing 3rd and 4th in the drivers and 2nd in the constructors as a bare minimum. I mean, the target for the board is to be the constructors champions, but look at this, we're not going to. So I might not survive the season, but you know, there's still a long way to go this season. Anything's possible in Formula One. And if you enjoyed that race, especially the first sort of 20 laps of it maybe, before the rain came and kind of made it a bit of a dud towards the end, in my opinion, you might have thought different. Let me know what you thought of the race in the comments. Leave your love for George Russell and his podium there as well. Make sure you give the video a like, subscribe for more F1 Manager content, and I'll see you next time. You're the best fans. I'll see you in Miami. Goodbye for now.